Hi, my name's Dave Frankowski. I'm a toy soldier collector. In fact, last year, in June, I put on a display of toy soldiers at the University of Pittsburgh. My display there depicted the trooping of the color. This display was done as part of the English Room Committee, of which I'm a member, and of Pittsburgh, which I'm also a member. But today, I'd like to give you a tour of my display case. My toy soldier collection is so large that I can't display it all at once. So what I do is I rotate my collection through my display case on a monthly basis. This month, my display case has a theme of the United Kingdom. Let's take a closer look. If we start at the top shelf, we have a group of the Cameron Highlanders, which represents Scotland. The Cameron Highlanders were formed in 1793 by Sir Alan Cameron. One of the distinctions of the Cameron Highlanders is that they wear the Cameron of Eric tartan as their kilt. They have blue facings. They wear white plumes in their feather bonnets. They're being led by their regimental colors, of which there are two. The one is the Queen's color. The other one is the regimental color. In 1873, the regimental color was presented to them by Queen Victoria. The time period for this group is from around 1880 to 1914. This entire group was cast from molds and painted by myself. The color bearers were cast from the officer figure, and I added the colors as separate pieces and painted them. Let's move on to the next shelf. This shelf represents England. And what we have here is a group of regular line infantry soldiers from the 1880 to 1914 period. They're wearing red coats and all have the blue home service helmet, which has a spike on the top. This style of helmet was very much influenced by the Prussians who had won the Franco-Prussian War. They represent just a typical county regiment. Many of the regiments in the British Army were based in certain counties. And this one's pretty typical. And many of them had white facings, which this group has. For myself, I like to think of this group as the loyal North Lancashire. This group is made up of figures that were recast from Britain's figures, some of which were recast from Britain's figures. The Maxim gun in the center was made by a British company called British Bulldog. And we can see the officer on the horse in the back. He was converted from a Britain's figure of a Mountie. Most of the figures on this shelf were painted by me. Let's move on to the next shelf. This group of soldiers represents Wales, and the regiment it depicts is the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, which were formed in the late 17th century. The term Fusiliers goes back to the days when certain infantry units were armed with fusils, which were shorter muskets. These men were detailed to guard the artillery parties. But as later on, it just became the term to describe the kind of troops they are. The Royal Welsh Fusiliers from 1880 to 1914 wore a bearskin helmet, very similar to what you see on the Guards. But if you look at the men closely, you can see it's a little shorter than the type that the Guards wear. And it also has a small badge placed in the front. Leading the Fusiliers is their regimental goat. They don't really consider it a mascot, but it's been part of their unit. They also have their regimental colors, one of which is the Queen's color and the regimental color. We have an interesting figure in the back. We have a sergeant carrying a pace stick, and he walks along to help figure out how the men should be marching. On this shelf, we have the Irish Guards representing Ireland. So we have all four parts of the United Kingdom. The Irish Guards were formed in 1900 by Queen Victoria. One of the distinctions of the Irish Guards is the blue plumes on the side of their helmets, on the sides of their bearskins, which represents St. Patrick. The Irish Guards are being led by their mascot, an Irish wolfhound. Behind the mascot is also the regimental colors. Coming through the castle gateway is the pipes and drums of the Irish Guards. The pipers wear a distinctively Irish-influenced uniform. They have saffron kilts and green doublets. They're also wearing brogues. The Irish Guards celebrate St. Patrick's Day each year. And you can't talk about the British Empire unless you also talk about the Royal Navy, which helps protect Britain as a whole because it's an island. And so we have a group of Royal Navy sailors deployed on land. These sailors have a Gatling gun in place and a large naval gun that's been fitted for land use. From here, we can see all four elements: Scotland, England, Wales, and Ireland represented in this display. It's done. I usually do it in March because March 1st is St. David's Day, and St. David is the patron saint of Wales. And March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, patron saint of Ireland. Both the Royal Welsh Fusiliers celebrate St. David's Day, and the Irish Guards celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Well, thank you for taking a look.